Welcome to Other Worlds Oracles, a show where we build fictional worlds through designing fortune-telling cards. I'm Autumn, and I seek nature from the cards. On today's show, we've invited the wonderful Corey. And Corey, what do you seek from the cards?
Hi. I think hope. Hope is a good one.
Hope is a good one. That offers a very positive spin on whatever comes anyway, which I think is really nice.
Yeah.
It allows for a lot of possibility. So, can you tell me a little bit about what your experience with world building and storytelling is?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been GMing TTRPG games since I was about 13. Not all of them
Yeah.
very good because I was 13, but and then a few years ago I actually started a small business with my wonderful partner
Hmm.
where we write lore included TTRPG systems. And we have a fair few of those with whole worlds built around them. We just haven't gotten to publishing yet because life keeps getting in the way. But
Yeah, for sure. Remind me again what kind of settings those take place in.
oh man, one of them is high fantasy.
Hmm.
One of them is sci-fi post apocalyptic.
Hmm.
One of them is kind of hard to describe, but I'd say reimagined history with fantasy elements.
Hmm.
One of them is completely modern, just the real world, but with a couple of game setting modifications.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we have a lot of them.
That's great. A lot of choice and variety to pick from there.
Yeah.
All right. And the other thing I wanted to ask you was, have you ever had your fortune read?
I have, although I don't know if it counts because it was technically in character as a LARP.
Huh, I'm into that. How does that work?
um, Someone did tarot readings just on her own, and then she wanted her character to do the same. So we had some downtime, and she asked me in character if my character wanted their fortune told, and I said sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very accurate to the character, which makes me think maybe it doesn't fully count, but
I think there's something to that though, because we talk about in the weird mishmash that we call therapeutic jamming, that there is a connection in between the player and the character, obviously. They call that bleed, which is a rather metal term for it.
yeah, I'm familiar with the term. It's kind of the plague of tabletop tables, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a wonderful thing though, because it allows you to bring in this kind of porous boundary between player and character. And I think there's something to being able to get a reading in real life for a non-physical character.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always tried to take the attitude that bleed isn't itself the bad thing. If you're having bleed from something, it just means you're telling a really good story with everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. That you're bringing yourself into it
Yeah, exactly.
and bringing the character into you.
Yeah. As a GM, I feel like I always know I've done a really good job if my players are feeling real emotions with their characters.
Absolutely. I have been accused of making all of my jamming projects into secret therapy,
Oh no.
which wasn't my
It
intention.
just turns out that way.
Yeah. So it goes.
Yeah.
But all that being said, would you like to have your fortune read today, but with one of our cards that we made?
Sure, I would love that.
Cool. Let's see. Let's draw here. And, well, perhaps this is fitting. I think you will get a kick out of why this one came up
Oh my.
specifically for you.
Okay.
So this one is called The Half of Her, and it is a card created by Zach and I in a previous episode. And the description is: a small boat has put distance between itself and the shore. Inside it is what appears to be a young trans woman, but she knows her true origin, that she is a Selkie.
Oh. I do like that a lot.
Yeah. She gave up her pelt to a trusted other Selkie in order to remain in her human form and chase the adoration of her human audience. Her occupation as of late has been as a singer and performer, dazzling the human world with her voice and majesty on stage. However, the human world and its constructed obligations have taken a toll on her, and she longs for the simplicity of living as a seal. She mourns the loss of her other half, dressed in black and periwinkle on this small sea vessel. What she does not know is that the pelt she thought was so far away is actually in the chest on this boat. Even her reflection in the water depicts her seal form. What she seeks is not as far away as she thinks.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I do like that one a lot. Like there's this kind of theme of like there's grief and this like travel aspect, this journey of going through things and finding discovery and hope at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that what she was looking for wasn't really ever that far away at all.
Hmm. I think it's like that a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Just like our bodies have the way of being able to heal themselves, I think our minds and our spirits do too. Of if they're put in the right position, like, even if a bone is broken, you can put it in the right position and it will heal on its own.
Yeah. I've often found that a lot of the times if I think that something's missing in my life or it's chafing, very often the it's not always the easiest way to go in terms of effort or,
Mhm.
I have to focus on this and that's, as anybody with ADHD knows, kind of a nightmare proposition.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
very often it is the easiest in terms of just settling with myself at the end of the day, I guess, is the
yeah,
best way to put it.
absolutely. Yeah. And the meaning we kind of wrote down was while you may find yourself in a state of transition, you will get through it in time and find something in the process. Allow yourself to travel through and connect with your emotions, and their tide will carry you through to the destination. Integrate what parts of you that you are trying to get away from, and you will find yourself more whole.
I do like that.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that we push away because they're uncomfortable, but they're just trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you take from that?
Mm. I see a lot of people who, myself included, at times, it feels like our urge is just if I ignore this part of myself or this part of reality, I guess, that I don't
Mhm.
like, then everything will be okay. I just have to not
Mhm.
look at it hard and long enough. And
Yeah.
that's just never the case. And
Mm.
it's been harder and harder to try and have that mindset as I get older and realize that those things don't go away.
Mhm.
If I don't think about them, don't process them, don't work through them, they're there, whether I like it or not, still. And eventually that chest will burst open because you just can't deny that part of yourself for
Mhm.
that long. I think anybody who's trans has probably had that experience.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think there's also something to this card about it kind of looks at how a lot of the things that we really struggle with have to do with stuff that we don't as a society have to do, but we do to ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Or even you do it because you feel you have to as a result of other
Yeah,
people, social pressure.
yeah.
I think about, would that Selkie have been allowed to perform the way she wanted to live on land if she was openly herself?
Mhm.
But in the end, as much as you might want or think you want, what comes from denying that kind of aspect of yourself, it just, you can't do it forever.
Yeah. Well, would you like to make a card of your own, just like this one?
I would, yeah.
Awesome. You are in the right place then. So let's take a look at how we're going to do this. We're going to design a card similar to the ones in a tarot or oracle deck with three main characteristics: a setting, a main character called the arcana, and some kind of artifact called the symbol. We will draw cards with prompts and assign them to each characteristic, giving us a direction to start in. From there, we will build on each concept until we have fleshed out a story combining all three elements. We will then determine what the card will look like and what its meanings could be.
All right.
Ready to get started?
I am, yes.
Awesome. So let's take a look at our very first card and get that nice, wonderful Foley from it. Well, this is the one that Emily picked out that we were waiting to see what wild card it would bring up.
Oh boy.
Picante.
Picante?
Uh huh.
Okay. Wait, I don't know that I know what that. Okay, spicy or hot?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
So, where are we going to put the spice?
Hmm.
The setting, the arcana, or the symbol?
Let's put it in the setting. I think that that could, if you take it in an abstract kind of way, that could come up with a lot of really interesting backgrounds for the card.
Spicy setting. I like it. And then the next one, flow.
Hmm.
Arcana or symbol?
I think let's go with symbol.
Okay. And then let's see what arcana is. It's puppet.
Oh boy. Okay.
Wow.
That it somehow that comes up with a very vivid mental image already, and I don't know what it is exactly.
Really? What's so vivid about it?
Well, the puppet reminds me of using a proxy, right? Or a
Yeah.
mask or something. You don't feel safe being
Mm,
yourself, kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the selkie.
yeah.
So you use a puppet to say whatever it is you feel needs being said.
Mm. Well, do we want to start there and flesh out the arcana?
Sure, yeah.
Or do we want to start with the picante setting?
Let's do setting first. It's always good to know where you're putting somebody before you make that
Yep.
somebody.
Yes, let's make the sandbox before we play in it. So, if we have the setting of picante, let's think about visually what kind of landmarks are nearby in this area. What's in the background of the card?
Mm. I think we want to use a lot of warm colors for sure.
Yeah.
Lots of not bright sanguine reds, I would say, but sunset type colors, red deserts.
Mm,
Um,
okay. Gotcha. And let's see, what kind of textures do you see in this? You mentioned sand. Do you think that's part of it?
mm,
Or like grasslands or
my understanding is that picante is usually a really smooth salsa. So
Mhm.
I think we do want some elements incorporating that, that it's smooth, maybe. Oh man, I don't have a better way to put this. You know the texture that you get from using the blur tool in GIMP or something?
Yeah, yeah.
I think a lot of that as opposed to hatched shading or whatnot.
Okay.
But I think we want to make sure it reads as spicy too, and that
Huh.
might just be the state of the world right now, but that
Mhm.
always that kind of reads to me as maybe there's some conflict back there.
Hmm. So there's conflict in this world. How is that depicted in the card, do you think?
Mm, the way I like to depict conflict, if I'm trying not to show it explicitly, because we don't want the background to overwhelm the card such that your eye is
Mhm.
drawn off of the arcana and the symbol.
Mhm.
I usually like to take a kind of fallouty approach
Mm.
to the storytelling where you leave evidence of conflict that has happened. It's unavoidable if you're examining that background. But if you're
Yeah.
just letting your eyes sweep over it, your brain might still take in that information without really thinking about it too hard. You just wind up with this sense of unease or tension.
Yeah.
And I usually like to do that not with bloodstains because that's a little bit much,
Mhm.
and especially with the kind of color scheme that I mentioned, they wouldn't stand out that much anyway.
Yeah.
But you can do it with smoke trailing into the sky in the distance, in particular in a desert, because that'll stand out well against a blue sky, but not so much so
Yeah.
that it's eye grabbing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can do it with tread marks on sand.
Mhm.
Dunes are actually great for that because they're both smooth and they show what's been crossing them very recently very well.
Yeah. So I'm kind of picturing like this kind of, you mentioned dunes and there are tracks across it and smoke in the distance. Are there any like, I don't know, like artillery shells lying around or like some kind of like evidence of
Yeah,
disarray or
that would be good as well. Shells or maybe distant buildings that,
Mhm.
again, should be subtle the way that they look in disrepair. But
Mhm.
and then I think you could probably do something with silhouettes
Oh,
on
yeah.
a cliff face or a distant dune. You
Yeah.
mentioned artillery, and that's actually a pretty distinctive silhouette.
Yeah. Okay. And what kind of genre of setting are we thinking of? Is this like far future? Is this
Hmm.
present day, sometime in the recent, like modern history, some completely other timeline?
My heart always says to go with sci-fi, and I think that's best here as well, as
Yeah.
tempting as it is to say modern day.
Yeah. So if we're looking at sci fi, I'm trying to think of what would be different to indicate that.
I think something about the character or the
Yeah.
symbol.
Well, that sounds good. Do we want to transition to the puppet then?
Sure.
Cool. So, what kind of appearance does this puppet character take?
Hmm.
Because I could see this going in the way of, like, I don't know, Avatar, but
Yeah. I think the most important thing to decide about a puppet is, do you want it to be humanoid or not? Do you want it to
yeah,
literally look like a puppet?
right.
And I think that would be good, actually. We want it to be, as far as I've read and understood, humans have a very specific response to seeing something that looks like a face
Hmm.
psychologically. So I think we want to lean into that. We want to make sure this puppet has a face as much as we can. It has a face, it has limbs, it has things that you look at and you want to empathize with.
Yeah. Is it, I could see it going in the direction of, like, too symmetrical, too, like, polished, or the alternative of, like, being in the uncanny valley where you're like, "Oh, this is so close that it's uncomfortable."
We could do both. A
Hmm,
puppet offers a pretty unique, especially if we're using it in its meaning as a proxy,
yeah.
essentially. It would be really easy to split the face down the middle and have one half be really hard into that uncanny valley, just
Uh-huh.
and the other half is maybe, like what you were saying, too symmetrical, or maybe it's falling into disrepair, maybe it's injured,
Hmm,
maybe it looks broken in some way, maybe it's both. Maybe you
mm,
can tell that it should be that kind of symmetrical, but it's cracked or something like that.
yeah. Are you thinking this looks like an android or a simulacrum, some sort of golem, or are you thinking like a person with like features that are actually like kind of in a state of injury?
Mm. Let's bring it back to that smooth sense we wanted in the background.
Yeah.
Let's kind of make that a little bit of a motif. Why don't
Okay.
we have it be something that clearly it has very humanoid features, a very human-like face, and then it's
Hmm.
been smoothed over. So
Okay.
it doesn't look right.
Okay. So kind of like I'm kind of picturing like early 3D, but like not low poly, but like when you get to the faces that are like a little too shiny.
Exactly, yeah, I'm thinking like Toy Story
Uh-huh.
almost, where you can tell that that should have pores, but it just doesn't anymore.
Gotcha. So when you say this like blur, is that like a literal like Gaussian blur where it's like hard to tell things in the distance or in the foreground? Or are you just talking about like an aesthetic of things being smooth?
I think some combination.
Okay.
For the puppet's face in particular, I think we wanna go with that Gaussian blur because we want it to be
Hmm.
clear it's a deliberate choice.
Okay.
Its face has been blurred, and I think it's up to interpretation of the person who draws it, whether that's something the puppet did, whether that's just something that has happened to it, whether somebody else did that.
Gotcha.
But for a large part of the background, I think we want a combination of regular smoothness, like you would get from
Mhm.
perfectly normal sand, and maybe elements that have very clearly been blurred deliberately in the way that you kind of stop perceiving things clearly in a high stress situation.
Yeah. I almost wish there was a way of like, I mean, this would be a sensory nightmare, but if there was some sort of way to add like the a very tolerable amount of like tinnitus to a card.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's just like, oh, we're in an intense situation where things are a little bit much.
I envy cinematographers and sound engineers for their ability to add that slight ringing to things.
Yeah. Let's see here. Is there an origin to this puppet? Like, where does it come from?
I think that's something that we want to leave up to the viewer as well, but I think we want to leave hints in there, which makes me wonder what is the puppet clothed in?
Hmm.
Do we want it to be a uniform? Do we want it to be civilian type clothing? I think again some combination might be good because flow makes me think about transition. We want to make sure we're not just including elements from the background. We want to include
Hmm.
elements from the symbol as well with the
Hmm.
arcana. And I think flow lends itself very well to being in a state of change, I guess.
Mm.
And in particular, with a high conflict setting we're placing this character in, it makes me think about maybe being torn between two things.
Are you thinking like maybe like a tattered uniform, but you can see underneath it some like civilian clothes or
I think civilian clothes and then maybe a jacket over it. Something
yeah,
something loose that doesn't quite fit the puppet properly.
yeah, that makes sense. Are there any like specific symbols that you're thinking of to like depict that this is a uniform?
Hmm. Yeah, actually, that's another great chance to use the blur tool, isn't it? I think just the impression of symbols and badges and
Mm.
whatnot that have been
Yeah.
again blurred, so you can't tell what they are or what they look like
Mhm.
properly. You just know that they're there.
Yeah. Is there something that isn't blurred that like that can be an opportunity for it to really stand out?
I don't know. What do you think?
I'm thinking the symbol could be a good thing to have stand out, but I don't necessarily know what the symbol should be.
I think the symbol should stand out. I think we should make it something that could have very easily been blurred, but instead it's extremely high detail.
Hmm. I guess what would flow in this circumstance? Or is it talking about the state of flow or
Let's let's have it be water with our
okay.
desert setting that feels like maybe I'm just a sucker for a happy ending, but that makes it feel a little bit more like there's some optimism to take out of the card. You
Yeah.
know, the setting we've created is high tension, it's stressful. Our main character presumably doesn't really want to be there in that situation if they have feelings since they're a puppet.
Hmm.
But at the same time, the water kind of promises that that's going to get better.
Hmm. When you think of the puppet, are you thinking kind of like a drone soldier or
I think we want it to be something that maybe makes you wonder if it's a drone soldier, but the closer
mm,
you look at it, the more you get the impression that this is someone's. This belongs to a person. It is a
mm,
person in some way. Is it a person? Is it not a person? How much does it count as a person?
right? And if something is so close to being, human, then at what point does it stop? What point isn't it? If it does all the functions, a rose is a rose.
Yeah. Honestly, I think what I would love is if the art made someone have to really squint at it and think, is that a puppet that has become enough like a person that I want to think of it as a person, or is it a
Mhm.
person that's become more like a puppet? Is it
Yeah.
a person who's using the puppet?
I really gotta, like, make sure we're not going into I don't know if you've seen the Muppet movie.
I did grow up on Muppets. Um,
The recent one, had, like, a song where they were saying, like, "Am I a man or am I a Muppet?"
that's fantastic. No, I haven't seen it, but now I really want to.
And it, like, inexplicably has, I forget what the name of the actor is who plays Sheldon in Big Bang Theory,
What?
playing the human alter ego of this Muppet,
Oh, man.
but that's beside the point, so we have this kind of ambiguous character where you can't tell, are they, like, some sort of construction construct, or are they just kind of a person who has gone into such a state of disarray that they are hard to determine,
Yeah.
like, where the boundary is.
Yeah, I think we want it to be something that people can empathize with for various reasons. Maybe it's symbolic and
Mhm,
it's just a person who's dissociated to that point.
mhm.
Um, Maybe it represents somebody who's feeling dehumanized.
Mm,
Maybe it's a protective shell that someone is
yeah,
using. Maybe it's just a puppet.
yeah, and you said that there's, like, flowing water.
Yeah,
What does that look like? Does that is that like a creek or a canal, a human, like, made canal or
I think I think it's a very small stream. It's not a
Mhm,
river, but it's a trickle of hope.
mhm.
And I think that we should have our puppet pouring water into it.
Okay. Like, they're in this desert, and you would assume that they're going to be drawing water from it, but instead they're pouring water into it.
Yeah, they're contributing to that flow.
I like that. What do you think that flow is there a place where it starts or where it goes?
I don't think we know. I think it
Yeah.
it starts and ends off screen, I would guess. Yeah, out of frame. So you have to wonder or guess or decide that you want to think it's starting or ending somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. And then are we kind of keeping, like, I'm sensing that a lot of this is supposed to be ambiguous or left to interpretation, but is there anything in the history of this conflict that we wanna make canon?
Hmm. When I'm world building and it's kind of unavoidable putting conflicts into your
Mhm.
settings.
I mean, it's a story.
Yeah, it'd be pretty boring settings if there weren't conflicts, and the larger you go with it, the more inevitable it is you happen into something where you go, well, okay, I guess there would have been a war there. There would have been something big happening.
Mhm.
And for me, I really like to emphasize that all sides are human, I
Mhm.
guess. Like there are things which are fully inarguable in any conflict.
Mhm.
But in the end, everyone involved is a person. And
Mhm.
I think it's everything goes a lot better if we assume that other people are doing their best.
Yeah.
Their best may not be very good, and it may be something that
Right.
you still shouldn't let them do, but they're doing their best as much as you are. So
Yeah.
that's whatever that conflict looks like. I think
Mhm.
that's what's important to me is that you can really see why it happened, and even if it was a terrible thing and you really wish that it hadn't, you can understand.
Mhm. I like to say that things make an emotional sense even when they don't feel logical.
Exactly. Yeah, if you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, no matter how terrible something is, you should be able to understand why they did it.
Yeah. Which obviously doesn't excuse anything, but like you're saying, it makes some amount of sense. There's some amount of appreciation and empathy we can have there if we are able
Yeah.
to.
And I don't know, for me, that kind of practice of empathy is, I always feel like it's what avoids those kinds of conflicts the best. And flow makes me think of that too, because the single greatest teacher of empathy I've found in my life, and just watching my son grow up and whatnot, has been change. It's been
Yeah,
transitioning from one thing to another. It's been experiencing more things.
yeah. I mean, I think of how, like, we think so much of just living creatures as like a static thing, but they're such a constant flow of change. Like, we're just constantly fighting this kind of entropy of wanting things to be, this universal trend towards stability. And life is just this big middle finger in the face of that.
Yeah, and nothing ever stays the same.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we sometimes long for that stability in times of severe distress, but we also yearn for change when things are stable. So it's always kind of a grass is greener sort of thing.
Yeah, to the point that it feels pretty often like it's not just a logical fallacy. It might even be our instinct to look around at times of a lot of change and a lot of
Yeah.
conflict and pretty much go, this isn't happening.
Hmm. Yeah.
But if we ignore all of that, if we don't look at anything except the puppet, then we ignore whatever they're using to pour the water into the stream too.
Hmm.
We ignore the stream.
Yeah. And I like that idea of them contributing to the stream because if we're thinking about this flow as something to do with empathy, you can have really constructive conversations in even incredibly tense situations if both people are giving each other the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly. Yeah.
But what do you do when someone just refuses to?
Yeah, it's kind of a prisoner's dilemma, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still haven't figured out an answer to that one.
I think that's where we kind of find ourselves, where we're, like, as a people, at least in the States, United States, like, I think there's a sincere number of people who want to make things better and to bring community and softness and in general kind of unpack a lot of the things that we've built into our systems of power. And others are just entirely disinterested in that. And they have their reasons for it, and we understand why they might have their reasons for it. But that does not necessarily make them get on board.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, what do you do about that is a big question that we're kind of wrestling with.
Yeah, and the weight of that inertia is just so hard to overcome that I feel like it's really easy for people who do want to put in that effort and make things change to just get stuck in that
Mhm.
quagmire.
Yeah, yeah. And, I think that's where we get some tension too between, like, even people with the best of intentions. There's this big infight between, like, do we just burn it all down and start over?
Yeah.
Do we try to build things from within it? There's just so many different approaches that we can even get caught up in fighting each other over it.
Yeah, and it's really easy at that point, I think, for people to pretty much point at each other and say, you're the reason why this isn't working."
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, it's just the human experiment is so complicated.
It is, yeah.
And I think we are doing our best with it, but is that enough? I guess we'll find out.
Let's hope so. I want to think it is.
I wanna believe so too, and I think that's part of us pouring water into the flow of it as well.
Yeah.
So, we have a pretty good idea of maybe, like, what it looks like in this card. How would you interpret, like, if you were to pull this card and reading it for someone else? What would you say are the themes of it?
Hmm. I did try to kind of deliberately install some hope there.
Yeah.
So I want to say that's definitely on the list.
Mhm.
Funny enough, I think I would say that entropy is, or maybe the inevitability of
Mhm.
entropy.
Yeah.
because that's something that deserts are definitely. I feel like that's a theme that should be more
Mm,
commonly recognized with them. That things are always changing there. The sand is always shifting. There's always wind. Things are getting buried and unburied, and
mhm,
the water too. If it's flowing from somewhere, it's flowing to somewhere. Things
mhm,
get washed along with it. So
mhm.
it's constantly changing, even if it doesn't look like anything's different.
Yeah. So we have these themes of hope and change, entropy. Anything else you'd add?
I want to say there's something about the puppet in particular, but I don't quite know what word to use. Depersonalization, maybe?
Hmm. Why that one specifically? Why the dissociative aspect?
So I use depersonalization specifically because it can be used in context to mean both dissociating and or dehumanizing,
Mm,
but it can also mean generalizing. It
mhm,
can mean you're looking less at the individual and more at the mass of
mhm.
individuals.
Yeah.
And I think even though we only have the one main character on the card, it's important to make the viewer kind of wonder, are there more of these puppets?
Yeah. I also think there's something to this about kind of paying it forward. Like you're in a desert, there's not a whole lot of water to go around, but this puppet is still providing into this flow, into this stream.
Yeah.
And it implies that there, like you said, there are many other puppets that are contributing to it potentially. Because where else is this water coming from?
Yeah, I like that a lot. It makes you wonder too, what is downstream? What is the puppet
Hmm.
thinking about while they're pouring out their water?
Yeah, where is it going? Where did you come from? Where did she go?
No.
So, if we have those kind of themes of the card, is there like an official interpretation that you would put forth, or do you think it's a little bit more vague than that?
I think it's one of those cards where it really depends on who pulls it.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I think,
So keep it short, keep it vague.
yeah, I think if it did have a specific meaning, it would be something like what you said. Like it again, I'm struggling to come up with a singular word for it, but that idea of, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, but the second best time is always right now.
Yeah. Yeah. There's both an urgency and a patience to that.
Exactly. And again, I just don't know what single word I would use for that.
I don't think it has to be a single word, but I think that idea of planting as soon as you can.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's urgency and patience, just the urgency and patience associated with trying to make things better, I
Hmm.
guess, even
Yeah.
if it's in a really tiny way.
Yeah. There is compassion in there for understanding, like, well, we haven't done it yet, but we can still do it now.
Exactly.
But we do need to do it as soon as we can.
Yeah. That, and I think it would be really easy for the puppet to look at the stream and think, well, there's already a stream there. Why should I contribute? The stream exists.
Hmm.
But if we're assuming that the water is coming from other puppets making the same decision to pour it out anyway, like we were talking about earlier, if everyone decided, well, why should I have to do it? Then there wouldn't be
Hmm.
one at all.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. What about what would we call this card? The
Ooh,
only real theme that we have so far is that they all start with like it's a
yeah.
very tarot glow card kind of
Yeah.
theme. But
Let's see. I feel like not this word, but maybe a synonym for renewal would be
mm,
good.
the refilling.
um, the refilling, the continuation.
Hmm. The stream.
I think the stream is good. Yeah, we want to really emphasize that that's what you should be paying attention to on the card.
I'm wondering, is that enough, or is there like one more word that we're missing? Because I think the stream could work, but if there's another
Oh,
aspect,
we could call it the water bearer
I like that a lot. The water bearer.
because I think that pulls attention to the stream, but also to the action the puppet is taking.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. We have the water bearer, It's a kind of blurry landscape where you can kind of just barely tell if you squint at it, that there's this state of disarray and conflict, and you have this puppet who is like this ambiguous creature of like personhood pouring the water into this stream.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that a lot too. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for making this card with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun too. I have one more request if that's okay.
Of course.
Can you help me pick 3 new cards to add to the prompts?
Oh, certainly.
Any one word vibe will be fine.
Bastion.
Okay.
Like I said, my heart stays with sci-fi, so
Uh,
Galaxy
okay.
and Sync.
Sync.
Yep.
Do I get any more context or is it just
No,
words?
I want people to have to go off of their snap judgment of whether it means sinking or like a kitchen sink.
Awesome. I love this. Well, do you want to do any plug of anything or
Oh man, I wish I had something really solid to plug, but
you have like a website or whatever for the stuff, but
my company is Crab Smash Entertainment, and our Patreon is kind of a zombie right now, but we're working on it. We are so close to publishing one of our first games. Our current closest ones are Terran Modular and Trashimals. I can pretty much guarantee that at least one of those will be available to buy for really cheap as a PDF within the next 6 months.
that's awesome. Where can people find that?
You would have to Google us. We don't
Mhm.
currently have a website because, like I said, life and mainly finances have really gotten in the way over the last year.
Yeah,
But we should still have a Patreon up, and you can probably find our Discord link from there.
awesome.
And if that doesn't work, then people can find me on Discord as Sugar Selkie.
Awesome.
Right. Thank you so much, Autumn.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you and all the wonderful things that you've contributed to this.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our show. A huge thanks to our wonderful guest. You can find us at our usual places or on your favorite podcatcher or at otherworldsoracles.podbean.com. Thanks for joining us, and remember that magic is creation and creation is magic. Take care.